There was a couple of things yesterday that really stuck out in that Athletic article. Obviously, we were reading bits and pieces of it on the air, but as kind of the show, wrapped up, we got into the KSFM part of the show. We kind of hit that first commercial break, and I really read the article, and there's a couple of things in there that were just, man, they were really sticking out to me. One, and this is the most important because we discuss this all of the time. Monty McNair is and has been trying to improve this team.
Yes.
And he's been trying to improve it in very drastic ways, not role players. He's been trying to.
Even swinging for the fences, going for the gusto.
and sometimes I wonder if the thing I always get hung up on the Danny Ainge, Rob Pelinka. That the not last year, but the season prior, the
that was my Rob Pelinka.
You're waiting for the end of the longest question in the world. But that deal, the Jazz Lakers deal with Jared Vanderbilt and all of these guys, and you look at that deal and you go, this doesn't make any sense. This feels like a deal that's rooted in a relationship. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But it also felt like does Monty have these deep-rooted relationships around the league as a guy who was with Daryl Morey? I don't even know if Daryl Morey's liked, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know if Daryl Morey is liked around.
Yeah, it might not be a good thing that you come from the Daryl
Morey
tree.
And it's like Monty, it still feels like Monty is trying to, and this is just me talking. We just talking here. It feels like maybe Monty is trying to establish those relationships. You know what I mean? He's even though he's been in the league a long time, he's still sort of finding his footing as the general manager. And when you have guys like Tyrese Halliburton, when you have guys like Keegan Murray, without those deep-rooted relationships, those become the most valuable assets you have, because every deal you make is solely looked at as what assets can I acquire from Monty McNair, rather than I have this relationship with Monty McNair. I can move off of these deals later. I'm kind of in a transition year. Let me help my brother out. It feels like that doesn't exist with him. Feels like it happens with Brad. Feels like it happens with Danny Ainge. I feel like it happens not all over the league, but I feel like it happens around the league, and it just doesn't quite happen with Monty McNair.
Do you think Monty McNair is still considered as the new guy, so to speak?
Maybe.
Because I'm trying to think.
He's not new.
He's not new anymore.
But he's not
But when he, so the two deals. I'm sorry, the two deals that really, didn't work out for him. The Kuzma one initially, he was definitely the new guy at that point.
Yeah,
and you could say Siakam. It's always kind of interesting to see.
I want to get
how far along they got along with those talks. If the sticking point was really what has been reported, or maybe it was a little bit more than that. I'd like to know a little bit more of that, but I don't know. And then I look around and I wonder, are there other new guy GMs that are having the same issues? Will Trajan Langdon have the same issues in Detroit? I don't know. I'm trying to think on the top of my head of new type of GMs. And in the Matthews Mattress Chatty House, Bobby Hill says the DiVincenzo mess, that wasn't on Monty. Monty actually got that deal done. That was Milwaukee who messed that one up in the media, right?
So it might depend on what DiVincenzo mess Bobby's referring to.
Well, that's right.
There might have been two different messes, depending on how closely you followed that story. The original DiVincenzo thing was absolutely not Monty McNair's fault.
And to that point, though, he got a deal done, right? And that's kind of one of the things we're talking about. It's a piece of what we're talking about. Does he have the relationships around the league to get deals done? And there's two off the top of my head, which is the DiVincenzo one and Sabonis for Halliburton. You could even make the argument he was on his way to making the Kuzma deal, and then a higher power stepped in and said,
"It was me, Austin. It was me all along, Austin.
I don't care what you're saying, GM. This is the deal that we're making."
Yeah, it's I want to. Can we stay with this Siakam thing for a second? The Athletic, and I missed this in our live kind of reporting, if you will, that there's a line in there from Anthony Slater, who was on with the insiders / the producers earlier, that there's some lingering regret about not getting that deal done. And I think it's multi-layered, right? I don't think it's as simple as Siakam wasn't going to re-sign here or wasn't going to commit to re-signing here. I think there might be a few more layers to it. But let's go with just that idea. And I'll pose it as a question to you. Where the Kings were at that time of the season, which was, really where they were until the final 10 games of the season or so, 4, 5, 6, 7, they were in that vicinity, right? When this deal was out there. Should the Kings have pulled, if the opportunity had presented itself and it really just boiled down to Siakam not committing to staying here in Sacramento, should the Kings have pulled the trigger on that deal to get Siakam here for the final few months of the season and see what happens?
So for me, it depends on one thing. Is Keegan Murray included in the deal?
There's I don't know this, but there's no chance that he was.
And look, that's the distinction between my answers, right? If Keegan Murray was asked for in the deal, absolutely not. You don't make that deal for Pascal Siakam. If he was not a part of the deal, if none of what we believe right now as being your core four were involved in that deal with Monk, Fox, Sabonis, and Keegan Murray, then I would say yes.
So hypothetically, it was Harrison, it was Herter, and let's make it 2 picks. You would have done that?
I would have done that.
With no commitment to him re-signing, because you've made the move.
Yep.
You've made the move now.
Yep.
And if he leaves, and Herter's gone, Harrison is gone, and you've lost a multitude of picks. Now you've probably made the playoffs, which eliminates any Hawks this draft. So you don't have that pick.
Yeah.
You don't have the picks that you've already. So now you're without draft picks, and your truly remaining tradable asset now is Keegan Murray.
Very true. But the way I would look at it is you do have cap space to be able to absorb a contract. So I'm not saying this guy specifically, but Zach LaVine, right? The Bulls kind of want to give him away. And right now the Kings aren't in a position to just absorb the contract.
Yeah.
They've got to trade some people. If you don't have Harrison or Herter and you lose Siakam, you could absorb that type of contract. And once again, I'm not saying Zach LaVine specifically, but that scenario, Jeremy Grant, what happened a couple years ago with him getting to Portland because they just absorbed the contract. You have that opportunity, but to your original point, your options are limited because now you've made that big trade that is supposed to be the one to get you over the hump and have you there for the long haul. Then you've got almost nothing to show for it. Maybe a playoff appearance, but as far as moving forward, you don't have anything to show for it. So it is a gamble for sure. Absolutely. I would have done it though. If it didn't include those 4 guys, I would have done it. Would you have done it?
I don't think I would have.
You think with Siakam, the Kings could have pulled off the same success as the Pacers this year? Maybe they don't get to the Western Conference Finals exactly, but their team, they're competing. This is a solid squad right here.
I think so.
Considering the way they were playing and all that. Too.
The Kings were already a solid squad.
Well, I think you meant maybe.
I mean, playoff. They didn't make playoffs though.
You win a series.
Oh, sure. I could have seen. Well, is Malik hurt or not?
That's the truth. I mean, I
mean, Herter's gone, so with all due respect, his injury doesn't factor into the equation. The question is, does Malik get hurt?
I believe they could have won a series with what they had.
So
people staying healthy,
and that's the difference. Like they make the playoffs, in my opinion. And then obviously with Siakam here, you can sustain a Malik Monk injury. I don't know if would you have done it? I don't know if I would have.
I need to know the reason why he didn't want to sign an extension at first. Because if it was something where, like, I think I saw something at one point was like, yeah, he didn't like the way they were talking. Like, but it can convince you like to stay after that.
It has to be, to me, it has to be more than just the contract extension. Was actual money discussed? You know what I mean? Like, because with Indiana, it was easy. When that deal was done, it was like Indiana has the space to sign him to a max contract. I don't know if the Kings had the ability to sign him to a max contract or not, but was like he would have just walked away from a max contract to go play where?
Well, look, and we always say, and I don't know if it's exactly the same thing, but we just got done saying yesterday, if it's the team that you're with that can give you that extra $40 million in a year, you sign the contract, and if you want out, you do it later. And I don't know bird rights, and if I would assume the Kings would be, if Siakam would have been traded here, they would have been able to give him the most in a contract offer. So to your point that you just mentioned, he's going to just walk away from an extra $40 million or something like that because he don't want to be in Sacramento. We just got done saying that. And that usually doesn't happen.
Well, and then that's the other thing. What were you gonna do? Were you going to go to Indiana?
Right.
Like where were you going?
Right.
San Antonio?
Like Indiana was where you're gonna go regardless in free agency, or no? You got there, they had the contract, and you said, "All right."
Yeah, and so that's the part I get hung up on, because it just can't be because if I'm Monty and it's really like, well, he's not going, if the discussion is there's no chance he's re-signing here, to me, I don't do it, because that feels combative to me.
Yeah, no chance.
Yeah,
no chance is like, different.
You can it's almost like what Rich Paul did with Anthony Davis. It's like, we're not demanding he gets traded to the Lakers. Anyone who wants to trade for Anthony Davis can trade for him. We're just telling you he's not re-signing with you. That feels combative to me. And that's starting a relationship off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I don't need that here.
Right.
We don't need that in this locker room. We don't need that with what we're trying to do. Salute. Yeah. The discussions ended as quickly as they seemingly started. But if the conversation is we're not committing to re-signing here, all right, that's okay with me. I can take that. I can take we're not committing to re-signing here. No problem. You have earned the right to discuss your basketball future with other teams. We want to be a part of it. We'll have the ability to offer you a certain amount of years and a certain amount of money, and we are looking forward to that opportunity. That I'll take. That I might have made the move for. He's not re-signing here. All right, man. We don't need that. And whatever your issue is with Sacramento or the people on this team, we don't need it. Those are very different things to me.
Absolutely. I feel you on that. And to be honest with you, we look at a situation where the Kings may be faced with the same thing. But what if Brandon Ingram is like, regardless of what happens, I want to test free agency. And would you do that move without giving up one of the four? Would you? Brandon Ingram, no security, like not even like a hint. They're not telling you, his representatives aren't saying we won't sign with you, but they're also not telling you where they're leaning. It's like, we'll just see what happens.
At this point, I think I would, and here's why. I would explore the Kyle Kuzma conversation first and find out where that's at. If you don't feel like you're getting anywhere with Kyle Kuzma, then you weigh Zach LaVine versus Brandon Ingram and how you feel about that. Do you take the risk of Zach LaVine, his shortcomings and potentially his injuries versus Brandon Ingram, his injuries, and perhaps more importantly, leaving? I think the idea has always been, quote, Brandon Ingram fits this team better. And that's tough to deny given, when you read all of these different draft things, what the Sacramento Kings are looking for. It's like, oh, yeah, that's Brandon Ingram. You're just looking for it in the draft.
Right.
That's Brandon Ingram. At this point, for Monty and everyone involved, yeah, I do it.
You do it, Jesse?
Jesse's eating. No, he's fine. Jesse said, "The hell with you guys. I just did a 2-hour show. Now I got to produce you two idiots. What more do you want from me?"
What more do you want
from
me?
Bringing Brandon Ingram here without like a deal? Yeah. No, I'd be more open to doing it for Siakam than I would Brandon Ingram.
Really?
Yeah, I think I like Siakam better than Ingram.
Okay.
If Siakam was like it's all hindsight now, but if Siakam was like, I'm definitely, like you guys said, if he said, like, I'm definitely not signing here, don't trade for me, then yeah, you don't do it. But if it was just a matter of giving the guy some convincing, I would have did it.
Can we? This has been in the. I didn't realize this has been in the chat a lot. Scout Recycler is OG declining his option because of Tibbs' coaching style. Guys, I think it's a formality. I think he was always declining that option.
Yeah, he can make so much more money.
He knows there's money out there for him. Like I don't think he's leaving New York, but like this was a formality. Like this, he has money out there waiting for him. He was always going to decline this option.
Yeah, I don't think it's things went drastically wrong and now he wants out of there. I just think it's.
But you heard Trista last week, and she'll be with us at 2:00. Like, don't get the Sharpie out for OG back in New York. I'd get a pen and risk using whiteout.